To be here with you guys today. I'm going to be showing you some easy edits done right here in Lightroom. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that you're in the Develop module. When you first open Lightroom, it'll open right into Library, so make sure that you click on the Develop module to bring it over to the screen that we're going to be working in today. To start out with, I'm going to show you cropping. So it's this little dotted box right here on the right. If you click it, it'll bring up the grid and you can easily adjust this and pull this picture around to get the perfect crop. I do like to constrain my crop to 4:6 in all my pictures, that way they're consistent and can be easily printed and framed if desired by the client. The next thing I do is exposure. So this is how much light is going to be in your pictures. If I pull it to the right, obviously I'm letting a lot of light in. If I pull it to the left, I'm taking a lot of light out. I do like my pictures a little bit brighter, a little bit overexposed, so I'm going to pull that over. You don't have to always play with exposure, but I typically do bring exposure up in post-production. The next thing I'm going to do is play with temperature and tint. You do have the option up here. Right now it's set in as shot, so this picture has the white balance as shot. You can click right here and pick, have the computer decide auto, daylight, and you can kind of go through these settings and see if you can find a preset that you like. I like to just visually decide what I like best. I do like my pictures a little bit more cool. So if you pull it to the right, that will put more warmth in. And if I pull it to the left, it'll make it a little bit cooler. For this picture, I'm probably going to stick around, let's see, probably stick around here, 6,038. The next thing I'm going to do is tint. So as you get used to editing pictures, you'll be able to easily spot if it has too much magenta or too much green in skin tones. Obviously, we don't want either of the extremes. If I go to the right, super purple. If I go to the left, super green. So just very small adjustments here. And she was looking a little bit magenta to me, so I did pull it a little bit over to the left to make it a little bit more green. Quickly, I'm going to show you over here on the left side. It'll have all your presets listed, and there's also a history. So if anytime you want to go back to what the picture previously looked like, you can click on any of these edits in between and go right back. And so that's a really nice feature if you ever kind of like, oh, I wonder if I really liked it better back then, or if I really like the tint more back where it was. You can easily go back and forth that way over here. So the next thing I'm going to do is contrast. I do like my pictures to pop a little bit more, so I'm going to pull this contrast over to the right. So if I pull it to the right, it'll bring the contrast up, and if I pull it to the left, it'll bring the contrast down. Sometimes the best way to learn Lightroom is just to get in here and kind of see the extremes to see what it's really doing. Sometimes I do pull my contrast over all the way to 100%, but not in this picture. This picture doesn't need it. I don't typically play with any of these settings for an easy Lightroom edit. You can kind of play with those and see what they do, and if you like them, you can definitely play with them, but for this tutorial, I'm just going to leave those alone. The next thing I'm going to go into is the hues. So if you ever think like, oh my goodness, there's just so much orange in this picture, or these greens are super dramatic or not dramatic enough, so you can come down here into saturation and put more of a color in or less of a color in. You can just take out that one specific color. And so that is nice if sometimes I want I wish the grass looked greener, but I don't want her face to look super weird if I make the whole picture look greener. So I'm just going to come in and make, just that color look greener sometimes. This picture, I don't really have anything that I want to adjust on the color scale, but I did want to show you that that option was there. Luminance is how white or how light the picture is. So if you look at Kalia's lips, Kalia's our beautiful model over here, if I pull this to red to the right, it makes the red lighter. If I pull it to the left, it makes it darker. With this picture, I'm just going to leave it right where it was because I loved her lip color. And this doesn't always affect the lips. This is just happens to be where we're seeing it the most. You can see it in her shirt as well, the different colors changing. And so I don't typically play with these either, but it's kind of fun to see how these can change a picture. So every once in a while you might want to play around with these too. Okay, so if you ever get a picture that looks really grainy once you put it on the computer, maybe your ISO was up a little bit too high, you can come down here to noise reduction, and this is going to soften the picture. It will soften the entire picture. So I don't like to put it up super high because I do like their eyes and their lips and facial features to still be really sharp. But if it is a little bit grainy, sometimes I will bring this up a little bit and make the whole picture softer to take some of that grain out. I pretty much always click these two buttons. So if you come down here under lens corrections, I pretty much always click remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. Sometimes your camera will kind of put some natural vignetting on your pictures, which is that darker color in the corners. And if I click and unclick, you can see that in the corners, if you watch right here, you can see that disappear. I like my pictures looking brighter, so I do take that away. It really adds an extra light to the pictures. So if you ever have a really crooked picture, you can come down here and Lightroom will automatically straighten it for you. This picture, I don't need to straighten it, but you can click any of these buttons, auto, and it'll automatically decide where it should be straight. You can choose if you just want it to straighten it horizontally or vertically or full as well. So that's a great feature if you ever come in here with a crooked picture. Excuse me. Okay, now for the fun part. So I've done, just to show you really quick, this is what we started with. And here's where we are now. We haven't spent too long working on this, so definitely won't take too long to do these edits. Now I'm going to zoom in. So to zoom in, I just made sure I was over here on fit, and then I clicked my little zoom and zoomed right in to her face. It does take a second to come into focus sometimes, so make sure you give it time to do that. Sorry, I just had to reach down and grab it. Okay, so this is the fun part in my opinion. I think it is so cool to come in here and make all this skin look so soft and remove blemishes and enhance eyes. It's just so fun. So up until this point, we have just stayed in this basic module over here. Now we're going to click the brushes. So it's going to open up some different options right here. So it's going to be right here on your right side, and it's going to be awesome. So in order to move around the picture, sometimes I find myself wanting to grab the actual picture right here and pull. That's not how it works. You're going to have to come over here to the navigator and pull around this way. So if you catch yourself pulling on the screen, don't worry, you're not alone. But do remember that you will have to come over here to move around the picture. Since we're doing close-up edits, I clicked 1 to 1 because I need to be super close. But you can click fill, which will bring it out a little bit more. See, I just did it. It's dragged down her face because I was trying to move it. But yeah, I typically edit faces in the 1 to 1 because I want to be up super close and be able to see everything that I want to adjust. So, I already clicked this button, so this module is up. effect right here. It's small, so a lot of people miss it. But right next to effect, you'll see these little arrows, and right now it says burn darken. I may not say burn darken for you when you first open it up, so don't be alarmed if it says, any of these other things. That's totally fine. That's just what I used it for last. The first thing that we're going to do is soften skin. So this is super easy. You just come down here. When I clicked this burn darken or whatever yours says next to effect, it opens up this menu for me, and I scroll down and it's just right here, 4 or 5 from the bottom, soften skin. Now when you open up any of these brush effects, it pretty much always comes up on 100%. I don't ever really use a brush on 100%, so you will pretty much always adjust the amount on the brush as well. I'm going to move it down to about 50% to start out with, but I may adjust that as we go. And here you can also adjust your size of the brush. So let's just start out with painting it onto her face, softening her skin. And the nice thing about Lightroom is that after I've already painted it on, if I look and I'm like, oh, I really wish that was softer or less soft, but I already painted it on and I don't want to paint it on again. Well, never fear. You can come right over here even after you've painted it on and change it while you're still, before you've clicked done. So if you've already clicked done, you can't do this, but if you haven't clicked done yet, you can come over here and play with that. I typically keep my skin edits around 50% because I do like it still to look realistic. I want people to look at her face and not be like, oh, that photographer definitely softened her skin. I want it to look like, wow, she just has amazing natural skin. I can still see her skin texture, but it looks amazing. So I think that's what any of us girls would like, right? In some places you might even, if like on her forehead, I was like, oh, I want it less than down here. I could have done that on 2 different brushes. So basically if I click done, then that brush is done. But if I click it again, it'll open up. I can go back down to soften skin and I'm on a new brush. So this one will be a new, when I like new settings. So obviously it's up on 100 and I'm like, oh, that's way too much. I'm pull that down. So just to show you, I'm going to go to fill for a second just to show you before we softened her skin, after we softened her skin. So you can see how that changed how her face looks. I'm going to go back to 1:1. Next, let's enhance her eyes. So if you clicked out of this brush module, make sure you click it again. We're going to click next to effect again, and we're going to go to iris enhancer. I'm going to bring down the size because obviously I don't need it that big anymore. And I'm just going to paint it right on the pupils of her eyes. I don't like to go too crazy with this because like I said, I like things to look natural. I just want people to think that it was just a natural capture. If I did this, they might think that she was a vampire from Twilight. So I'm going to keep it down here. Around, 50% seems like a good place. This is different for every picture, but this is what I like for this picture. So I showed you really quick right there, but so this is before I did any eye edits, and this is after I did some eye edits. You can see I accidentally brushed outside of her eye a little bit there, so I'm going to go back and fix that because that would not look good. If you ever do that, do go outside of the eye. You saw how easy it was to just go back to where I was before and redo it. That's what I love about Lightroom. It's so flexible. Okay, So that's all we're going to do for the brushes for this edit. Next we're going to do some blemish removal. So you can see some very light blemishes still showing on her skin. So you click to this little circle with the little arrow coming off of it. That is our blemish remover. Make sure that you click heal. So when you click on it, it says brush, clone, heal. Make sure you're on the heal module. Then you can adjust the size as well. And you want it just a little bit bigger than the blemish. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger than that. Okay, so I click the blemish and it automatically samples skin that close by that makes it look like that skin. So you can just go around their face and take out anything that you want to take out. Super, super easy. Again, coming over here to my navigator to move around her face since I'm zoomed in too close to see her whole face in one area. Okay, click. I'm going to click done. If I did want to remove something bigger, like maybe some of these fine lines underneath her eyes, I could go back to this brush, sorry, not to back to the brush, back to the blemish remover, and you can actually hold down instead of clicking one spot, and it will sample a bigger section for you and remove a bigger section. I don't typically recommend doing that right by the eyes. You don't want to remove any eyelashes, and you can see that it was a little bit of a rough edit, but I could come in here, you could come in here and soften the skin with that brush and blend that out a little bit more to make it even more smooth looking. I don't think that she really needs it, so I'm going to take that out. And it was looking a little bit orange to me, so I just moved that temperature over. And this is where I would call it good. So we cropped the picture, we adjusted the exposure, the contrast, the temperature, and tint. We did soften her skin, enhance her eyes, and remove blemishes. So, and of course, if you remember down here in lens corrections, we did enable profile corrections and remove chromatic aberration. I didn't really go into an explanation of this, but that is something that I do in all the pictures. So, there you have it. That was an easy Lightroom edit. Took a little bit longer because I did go and explain everything, but I'll show you a quick before and after. So here's what we started with over here on the left, and here's what we ended up with on the right. So with some practice, this will come down to second nature to you, and you'll just do it really quickly. But in the meantime, feel free to refer back to this video if you ever need a reminder on how to do something.